Ken Paxton's legal team has made the case that impeachment goes against the will of Texas voters. They point out that he won re-election despite voters knowing about the accusations against him. But the impeachment process has brought out more detailed accusations against Paxton, and polling from UT's Texas Politics Project shows a shift. The poll of registered voters taken last month asked, do you think that Ken Paxton took actions while Attorney General that justify removing him from elected office? 47% said yes, 18% said no, and 35% said they did not know or had no opinion. We're joined now by Jim Henson, director of the Texas Politics Project. Your poll asked a similar question back in June. Back then, a slightly higher percentage of voters polled thought the House was justified to impeach Paxton. Today, is the difference significant?
Well, I think it's not that significant. I mean, what we see is when you ask a general question about the House impeaching Paxton back in June and then again in August, you get about 50% saying, yeah, they were justified. The underlying point here is that people have not been paying a lot of attention to this during the summer, and so opinions haven't moved very much.
You've been tracking voters' opinions of Paxton for years. How much of an impact has news of the impeachment trial affected his approval rating?
Well, it seems like it's had quite an impact. In our most recent poll, his approval numbers were at the lowest point they've been in the last 2 years that we've been polling on his approval. He's about 19 points underwater, negative, which is very low and much lower than his peers among elected officials.
The Texas Politics Project tracks voters' opinions on various issues, and we're used to seeing big divides based on party affiliation on many topics. Is the Republican-Democrat divide any different when it comes to Ken Paxton?
Well, it is a little bit, most significantly because Republicans are divided. So on most questions where we've asked about what people think about Paxton, whether it's the impeachment, whether it's whether he should be removed from office, you see almost even divisions, but with very large numbers of Republicans undecided. So in the latest poll, in the question about whether the suspended Attorney General should be removed from office, more than 40% of Republicans said they didn't have an opinion. That makes it hard for the senators and not great news for the Attorney General.
What generally factors into someone being indecisive or having no opinion?
Well, I think in this case we're seeing a few different things. We're seeing, first and foremost, this is a very complicated case. As those of us that have been following it closely, it's hard for us to keep track of all of the developments and how everything is connected. More broadly, people don't pay a lot of attention to the Attorney General, to that level of government. And so there's not a lot of things drawing people in anyway. And then finally, people are generally not paying attention to politics, quite a bit, and especially during the summer. I think that's one of the reasons we saw very little movement between June and August.
Well, your poll also asked voters what they thought of Governor Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Patrick, and Speaker Dade Phelan. What are the takeaways from those results?
Well, what we saw on all of those is not much movement. The governor, lieutenant governor, Speaker Phelan, their approval levels were probably in the middle to the low end of where we expect them to be. The big thing to note also is that the Speaker of the House, not recognized very well by a lot of Texans, fairly low name recognition. So you'll see people mentioning that Dade Phelan's approval numbers were very low, but about half of Texans really don't know who he is, frankly.
All right, Jim Henson, Texas Politics Project, thank you very much.
Great to be back.
We've heard a lot of opinions about the impeachment of the Attorney General, but this one may have a little more weight.
Having been Attorney General, I'm very concerned. The Attorney General's the chief law enforcement officer of the state.
The insight from someone who previously held the job, and how portraits here in the Capitol Rotunda can give a little perspective about a previous impeachment that made history in Texas.